Hi there, welcome back to the Balance Podcast. I'm your host, Fabrizio. I'm an executive health coach, nutrition specialist, and personal trainer. And today we will dive in what we think is normal and what are the hidden costs of thinking what normal is. I will be sharing also some personal stories along the way, so grab your favorite cup of tea or coffee and let's get into it. Now, I would like to start the things off by talking about a trap many of us fall into. That is the glorification of overwork. I used to wear my overwork like a badge of honor. I thought the late nights and skipped lunches would pay off with a promotion or at least some sort of recognition. But all it did was leave me drained, both emotionally and physically. I was actually constantly compared to my peers, and it felt like a never-ending competition. And guess what? It's a trap. I came across a very interesting article from Harvard Business Review where they actually confirmed that this mindset is so ingrained that even when companies offer flexibility policies, employees do not take advantage of them. And why? Because they fear being seen as less committed to their work. But what if I told you that time isn't the only thing you should be managing? Let's dive a little bit into the energy-time paradox. I remember taking days off thinking it would recharge me. But when I returned to work, I felt just as drained. It was like trying to refill a leaky bucket. Time off did not equate to more energy. I also came across a very interesting article pointing out that most of us are stuck into this mindset that time is the ultimate resource. But what about energy? You could have all the time in the world, but if you are drained, that time is worthless. Speaking of being drained, let's shift gears and talk about something we often overlook: the hidden toll of microstress. You see, I used to brush off the little stressors, unresolved feelings towards a boss, unclear career path, and a long string of unhappy days at work. But these microstressors are like termites, slowly eating away at your well-being until there is nothing left. I did not notice the impact immediately, but over time it led to burnout, stress, and even emotional fatigue. But now that we have peeled back the layers of microstress, let's talk about the box we often put ourselves in without even realizing it. You see, I had this checklist in my head, sometimes even written down on paper. There was a beautiful job, a professional status, and the illusion that my worth was tied to my career growth. But that checklist became my own mental prison. I was so afraid of stepping out of my comfort zone that I ignored the signs. Signs well of energy, frequent headaches, and even hormone imbalances. It took a burnout and some life-changing coaching to make me realize that I was in a box of my own making. So we have identified the box and understood its emotional toll. But how do we break it free from it? Well, breaking free isn't easy, but it is absolutely necessary. For me, it took a burnout and a shift in perspective to start valuing myself beyond societal expectations. I reached out for coaching, took a hard look at myself, and stopped playing the blame game. The key is to be conscious of what we allow in our life and take responsibility for our own well-being. You see, it's easy to say, it is because of, or pointing fingers to certain people, certain situations, certain events. However, although all of this has a certain impact on our well-being, On the other hand, we need to be conscious of the fact that sometimes our lives are shaped by what we allow in our life. So if I have a bad relationship, let's say with my boss, now it is up to me to set boundaries. What is that am I allowing him to do to me as a person, to my emotions, and to my status, to the way I feel? So you see, if I don't set boundaries, I will allow this person to basically emotionally drain me. So in other words, it is not just about what happens or a single event or a single person, but it is how we respond to that event, to that person, and to the certain situation. What is that you learn from it? What do you take out of it? So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Maybe if we turn our words and say, what is that I can learn from what is happening to me? This will change our perspective. It completely will shift our mind setting in finding better ways out. So in conclusion, I would like to say that, let's say, we need to some kind of accepting our situations, because accepting is everything. You can deny certain events, you can deny certain relationships, but until you accept, digest, and set boundaries for yourself, then our happiness keeps on depending on status, keeps on depending on what people expect us to be and to do, and keeps on depending on others. On the other hand, by accepting, understanding, realizing, and visualizing what is imprisoning us, whether it is physically or emotionally, is the only way that we have to really break free from this cage or from this box we lock ourselves in. So instead of say that our professional development of a professional career depends on the promotion, let's try to understand what that promotion really means to us. What if you get the promotion tomorrow? Will you feel professionally more satisfied or fulfilled? So always question the status that we are at. Always question how we measure our happiness. Because again, I used to measure my happiness on status. I used to measure my happiness because I was a scientist in one of the, let's say, world's largest company in the world. And then that status was associated with success. However, success without fulfillment remains an empty success. In today's episode, I would like to dig into a story that one of my clients shared with me. By the way, how often do you analyze your own habits? What shoe do you put on first in the morning before heading to work? What side of the supermarket do you enter every time you go shopping? What's your morning routine like? Do you get dressed before or after breakfast? Think about it. Our lives are shaped by habits.